You gang, I hope everyone's doing well. Happy Sunday, another live stream, Tesla live stream. We got a lot to talk about this week, but first let me know if my audio is coming in clear. I'll read out some chat coming up here in a hot second. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, city, state, and country. And I already see the parties getting started in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, welcome, and let me know in the comments. Okay, first things first, busy week, right? Tesla up massively this week, a lot of live streams, a lot of good content. A lot of it on the fly, though. And today, I hope I can make the content a little bit more deliberate. I've got some CNBC stuff I want to react to, some Yahoo Finance, and stuff that's come out in the last day here. So hopefully you haven't seen it already. So stay tuned for that. We're going to go through some news for the week as well. Remember, FOMC is this week. CPI, so inflation report, is coming out this week on Tuesday as well. So I want to go into my thoughts about that because that'll massively change where we are sitting today, in my opinion. But let's get the party started, and hopefully, and I'll bring down the music here in a second, and hopefully everyone's doing well. Let me just bring up the stock price, and that is the S&P 500, but let me bring up Tesla. And as I read off some comments on the side here. Alrighty, David from Juju County, how's it going? David Jupe from Netherlands, Per Johan, how's it going? Martin, how's it going from New York? From the Sanctuary Digital, how's it going, my friend? Classy Dan, I appreciate you, Ashu. Thanks for all the content. I appreciate you, as always, Dan. Always with the support, always with the nice comments, always repping the Juju gang. Appreciate you. Mark from Scotland. Scotland, I love it. I was gonna do an accent there, but let's just not go there. Lenny, how's it going? Gentry, how's it going? DRK, as usual, on the Sunday live stream. Shout out to you, DRK. Classy Dan living up to his name, exactly. Hold on, let me scroll. Cypress Hill, how's it going from Germany? Quinell, Steve. Welcome, Quinell. I don't think we've had a Quinell other than you before. I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. Welcome from Quinell. Fun fact, I've been to Quinell. Mimi, how's it going? Happy Sunday to you as well. Greetings from Massachusetts. There we go. Rot, Germany in the house. Paulo, how's it going? Connecticut. Sunny Sweden. Rivière de Loup, Quebec. Bonjour, merci. Hillary, how's it going? Happy to catch one on time for a while. Hello from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for tuning in as always, Hillary. JL, everyone like the video? Yes, that's a command. So everyone go like the video, hit subscribe if you haven't already. We got a lot to talk about as I go through the comments here and just make sure I catch up. Yes, you've always, and you have been and always will be my friend. Compton, California. Shout out to you, Sith Lord. Thanks for the awesome comments. Mike, how's it going, my friend? With the Jujus in the house. Atlanta service from Graz, Austria. How's it going, Michael? Stefan says, I think a lot of stocks are due for a normal pullback. If you're into technical, it's kind of overbought. We're going to go into that shortly here. I was going to say slightly here. I think you guys know this. On the Sunday live streams, I'm the first one to admit that my brain is a little bit, right? So bear with me. My normal thought process is there, but the lag, the efficiency between what I think and what I say, especially on a Sunday morning live stream, is not fully there. But you know what? Today's a good day. I got a coffee. I got a Juju waiting for me right after I finish this. So life is good. Why don't you guys grab a coffee as well? Let me know what you guys are drinking in the chat. It's going to be a big week. Hoping so. Jan, how's it going from Stockholm? Corpus, Austria. A lot of our European friends in the house. I'm thinking about, well, I don't want to jump the gun, but I think probably this September, October, I'll be heading out that way. Tony from Montreal. Brian, how's it going, my friend? From Austin. Another Brian. Howdy, Yashu. Howdy to you. Germany. Ventura County. Tony, how's it going, man? Jacksonville. Vern, how's it going? Good day from Maruba Beach, Sydney. And by the way, if you're watching this on Twitter, come on to YouTube if you want to drop some comments. They don't get fed into my Streamlabs or my StreamYard chat in here, unfortunately. Or watch on Twitter. Doesn't matter to me. Sophia from Bulgaria. Rashid from Palestine. Shout out to you, Rashid. Phoenix, Michigan. Man, we got so many comments. I'm just going to have to blast through these. San Diego. Maybe Muskegon. Fullerton, California. Sitka, Alaska. Shout out to you, Jeff. Sunny Sweden. Barry, how's it going? From Hoboken. Scituate, Rhode Island. Hopefully I pronounced that okay. Greetings. Richard, how's it going from SoCal? or Bob, I should say. Drinking tea and SF. Same, going to Scotland, Germany for Oktoberfest. That sounds fun. I don't think Oktoberfest is on the timeline for me, but maybe something else. Pepsi to go with my burrito. Michigan Ultra, nice. Sweden, Culver City, California. I did, and we'll talk about that soon. Tilburg, vodka lime water. Marco from the Netherlands. I think this is a different Marco than our other Marco, I believe, who is also from the Netherlands. I mean, yes. Daryl, how's it going from Chicago? Listening while in the gym, drinking some chemicals labeled lemonade. Finland. Okay, wow. Folks, blasting Sunday live stream today. Okay, let's get to the news, shall we? Okay. William, thank you for the super chat. My friend, hope everything is well with you. Let's leave in Norway. This is a crazy Sunday live stream today. Okay, awesome. I love the energy. Keep the energy going in the chat. Let's talk stock a little bit. Okay, so Tesla up 4% on Friday, ending the week with this massive green candle. Look at this weekly candle that Tesla has just put in as of last week. But look at the last five out of the 6 weeks have been green weekly candles. Tesla is rocketing. We talked on the daily. I'll pull up the daily here. I said, look, breaking that 200 moving average is going to be massive. And look, it kind of clinged on there to that. This is our blue trend line for the 200-day and 300-day up here. And even the 300-day had a little bit of lag. But we've officially broken through it. Kind of the question now is, and everyone's having, is what's next, right? Tesla is up, and I'll pull this up on our Chrome browser here. A little bit of a foreshadowing of what I got here planned for us. Oops. By the way, if you want to get your Tesla merch, that was 100% not planned out. Go to teslajuju.com. Okay, the last month on Tesla is up 42%. Let me just compare this to the Nasdaq. Let's compare it to the Apple stock, and let's take some notes here. So Tesla in the last month is up 42%. The last trailing 30 days. Apple is up 4% in that same time frame, and the Nasdaq is up 8.6%. Okay, massive, right? 42%, folks. 42%. I actually made this tweet out yesterday, and I said, let me pull this up. Oh, hold on. Let me just get rid of this ugly ticker right here. I said this tweet yesterday. I said, when Elon tweeted economic enema en route on May 11th, we are officially at 42.0. Trying making a joke there. Since this tweet, folks, sign me up for all the enemas in the world if that's what's going to happen. Priyalan, thank you for the super chat. Can we all come visit you when Tesla hits 1,000? Why not? Party at Yash's. I don't think I could fit everyone in here. Okay. Tesla's up 42% since Elon tweeted economic enema en route. And I added to that tweet and I said, if FOMC raises rates again this week, watch out. Elon has been banging the drum for a while for them to stop. Now, again, going back here and looking at, let's say, the last 6 months. For the last 6 months on Tesla, Tesla's up 45%. Okay. Apple's up 25. The Nasdaq is up 25. That makes more sense. In the last 6 months, Tesla has a beta of 2 versus the general market. So that generally makes sense that Tesla would be up, 50 to the 25. But it's really the interesting notion that in the last trailing 1 year, right? 1 year trailing, Tesla's only up 14% to Apple's 37 and the Nasdaq's 28. Only up 13. And it was only as of Thursday, Friday that we even got a positive. We only got a positive return on the trailing 1 year for Tesla. So it's interesting to see, of course, we've seen this massive dip here in the beginning of the end of 2022, the beginning of January. I don't think anyone needs to remember that. But Tesla has been up a massive 126% year to date. And I get that it's a little bit arbitrary. I'm making that date up, and year to date doesn't really mean much. And yes, Jan, it is. So it's officially, and I think I quote tweeted this out as well. Let me pull this up. So this is from Alan Root, Dow Jones AI, or AL for Al. This is a good chart from Bespoke Invest winning streaks. So these, and I'll just change my layout a little bit. So these are Tesla winning streaks. right? And as of the 8th of June, Tesla had tied its 2020 win record of 10 straight green days. And as we know, it's ended the week with 12 straight green days. Now, I'm not trying to rain on the parade here or anything like that, but when you have 12 straight green days, you're probably due for some rain, right? And I think with the FOMC this week, with the CPI inflation report that everyone is jonesing to see, I think the recipe is here for a pullback week. Let me know if you think I'm wrong in the comments, if you think we soar higher again this week. I guess you can make the counter argument to say if CPI comes in right in track, the Fed says, look, we are pausing rates. See, inflation looks good now. True inflation is sub 3%. We are good. Is that not recipe for the party to continue? And I guess perhaps it could be. But let me know in the comments and I'll read out some comments of what you guys think. Let me catch up with the comments here. Oh, yes. So black dot. Hold on. Let me just get rid of this. so this black dot that I have here is officially gone. Okay. How about that? Sorry. Okay. What do you guys think in the comments? How's it going, Abe? Messi says, reminder to hit that like. Appreciate that. And reminder to hit subscribe as well, if you haven't already. Jupiter says, given all the pressure on cryptos as of late, I'm looking to dump all Bitcoin and just buy Tesla stock instead. What do you think? So this crypto news is massive, right? All these exchanges all of a sudden getting, or all these crypto coins and assets getting marked as securities now. The exchanges pulling them off. It's disgusting times in crypto land, to be quite honest. And the SEC is really not doing anyone any favors with what they're doing. They're mostly just trying to protect their butt, right? And it's ironic because they mostly talk out of both sides of their mouth because they talk about this digitalization of the dollar that they want to do as well, which I'm totally against. As you guys know, and not to go too much into the whole crypto thing, but I'm very much on team cash needs to stay. We need, and I get it, there's arguments against it, but look, I just don't want to live in a cashless society. And I get that we're close to that already. But a cashless society paints a lot of problems for a lot of people. And again, you could talk about criminals, and the argument is always, well, you know, criminals use cash, criminals use crypto. But I mean, so do the people that really have no voice. If you talk about homeless people, you know, you talk about financial power. I mean, you talk about banks. If the banks don't want to loan to you, if the banks don't want to have you put an account for you, and you can't use cash anymore, I mean, what real power do you have in a democracy, in a democratic environment? So cash needs to stay, in my opinion. Anyways, that's a whole nother discussion that we can have. Craig says, compared to Apple and the NASDAQ, we have to remember that Tesla margin compression and temporary slow growth. John says, people have started selling Friday, going to be a bad week. Fed can't have to fight this inflation. I think maybe you meant to say Fed will have to fight this inflation. We will see. Harry says, Harry thinks I'm wrong. CPI peaked in June 2022. Everyone knows CPI year-over-year comparables will be favorable. Remember, it's not about where CPI even lands. It's about where CPI lands with respect to expectations of CPI. It's not actually, like, people will have us convinced that CPI in and of itself hitting 2% is the benchmark. Maybe, of course, long-term, that's the goal, but it's where CPI lands with respect to expectations that really matters. I think margins squeeze higher. I can see a pullback. Mike says, let's see here. Let me catch up with the comments. So this is the thing. Stefan says, with Canada raising interest rates, not that the U.S. would follow, but I can't see the U.S. holding yet. So this is where my PTSD, I'm going to be a little bit dramatic here. This is where my jadedness comes from on the FOMC this week. The Bank of Canada just raised rates after saying for months that they're done. And they said, you know, barring some massive change in data, we are done raising interest rates. And boom, last week they raised interest rates again on a hotter CPI report. And mind you, core CPI was still in line, and they still raised interest rates on that. So it's something where, you know, I'm just not sure. And if you're if you're on the board or if you're on the committee and you look at interest rates where they are, And you could say that they're wrong, for sure they are. But at the end of the day, they're following this track of not looking at forward-looking data, they're looking at lagging data. If they're looking at lagging data, does it not make more sense to do one final rate hike now when no one really expects it? Remember, there's about a 70% chance of a pause this week. 70% chance of a pause. But again, we'll see. Paul says SEC ironically proving the value of the Bitcoin thesis. Yes, and proving the value of the cashless society that I talk about as well. Nice. I'll have to take a listen to that. Lenny says, I saw a lot of commentary that the Fed will pause rates this week, pause rate hikes this week, but will increase them next meeting. See, this logic I've seen around. I just don't see why they would do that over just do one final one as a surprise and then pause. You know what I'm saying? Like, why go back to raise interest rates later? The song is in my head. Let's see here. Vasil says, stock aside, can you speak on Elon saying the last earnings call that Tesla and other companies will have a rough next 12 months? Well, Elon is very much, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, he could speak for himself, but from what I'm reading him into the lines, he's very much still watch out to the end of this year. Like at the bare minimum, he'd probably say towards middle of next year, even for the next 12 months, right? But that's really, and I painted this, so I did this video. I'm not sure if you guys remember watching this, probably not, but a couple weeks ago, I did this video. I went to this meetup with this White House advisor. Okay. I did this, hold on one second. I did this video with this White House advisor that is economic advisor. And she came in and she talks with Biden and Biden's team on a monthly basis to update them on where she thinks the economy is. She's one of 2 people that do it every month. And so she talks about, and she was painting the picture of the lost generation, you know, the younger generation not being able to buy homes. And that's one thing that they're looking at with the housing market being so high. But a big portion of what she was not dooming, but she was hinting at was, look, the end of this year is what matters. We all think we're all over the hump. Everything looks well. Stock market is decent. Housing prices are up. Wait till the end of this year. That's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for that lag effect. And so if she's iterating that, I know that the Biden and the White House administration are looking to the end of this year as well. And remember, it's not about Elon even being an economic genius or reading all these economic books and trying to theorize. Might be a part of that. But Elon has the ears of the best information that there probably can be in this world, right? You talk about the top dogs of the top dogs. I mean, Elon probably talks to them, or they talk to Elon, right? Probably a better characterization. So that's what we have to look at. And when Elon says this sort of stuff, I think it's generally he's saying, watch out big time. And so we'll see. Some more option talk. Well, we could take a look at options. Why not? Let me pull up options order flow here. Let's take a look at options for next week. 244.40 sitting on Tesla. Let's pull this up. So an at-the-money call for Tesla 245 is sitting around $7.50. So $750 sitting on Tesla for an at-the-money call. About the same for the puts. So in terms of straddle, we're pretty even there. But if you go out one standard deviation on each side, let's see, $1.70 for the 270 strike. Okay, so about $35 or $25 out the money buys you one standard deviation for about, let's say, give or take $2. And if you go out one standard deviation on the put side, we get to about 226. So about evenly distributed and about $1.50. So actually going into next week, we're looking pretty even. The market doesn't really know what to price in, but it is pricing in about a $15 move, give or take, on Tesla. So let me just pull up the quick calculator. So a $15 move on Tesla is about pricing a 6% move for Tesla, which, to be honest, is really not a lot. I mean, for the last week here, every single day, it seems like we're seeing that much of a move intraday. So it's only pricing in about a 6% move. So a calmer week ahead, apparently, for Tesla. But if you're looking to sell premium, this is the issue with selling premium on Tesla, is what we've just saw for the last 3 weeks. Tesla, when it wants to run, it can just run massively and for seemingly no reason. And if you're caught underwater on selling out covered calls, you miss on the upside, number one, but you probably also have to buy back these out of cash or roll these out. But it can just be a mess. It can just be a mess, especially if you're doing poor man's covered calls and you don't own equity. So anyways, mess. What a mess that could be. Let's see here. Oh, we got some massive news here, actually. I don't know how I'm forgetting about all this. Check this out. This Tasmanian article, Tesla Model Y crowned as China's best-selling premium NEV in May. Check this out. Tesla Model Y is crowned the best-selling premium so I'll just say NEV in China in May. The car significantly outsold its competitors. Tesla Model 3 finished in third place, only slightly behind the BYD Tang DM. In May, Tesla sold 31,000 Model Ys in China. This made the SUV the best-selling NEV in the premium segment. The car has had a huge lead over its nearest competitor, which only emphasizes its attractiveness for local consumers in such an expensive segment. And then, like I said, the BYD was second. So, pretty massive news. The Model Y is the best-selling NEV in China for May. And remember, and someone tweeted this at me as well, and they said this. They said, remember, it's not even the last month, right? So last month, usually Tesla likes to pile in domestic orders in China. And so, look, we're already in May, and we're getting this news. So really good news there. Tony says, I always thought that given how compelling a growth story Tesla is, it should trade at 100 PE. We're 75% the way there with the stock right now. Are we? Let me look at the PE. Yes, close enough. Why shouldn't it trade at that multiple? Well, remember, multiples in and of themselves are sort of meaningless. It's really when we look at it compared to the market. So if we look at NVIDIA, for example, right? Growth stock, AI company, massive jump up. Its trailing 12-month PE is 201, right? That's the multiple that people are giving its trailing 12 months. That's what the market is implying. The forward PE for NVIDIA is 49. If I go to Tesla, and this is just with Webull stats, so I'm not entirely sure what EPS estimate they're looking at here. The trailing 12-month PE for Tesla, like you say, Tony, is about 72. And the forward-looking PE, according to Webull's EPS estimates, is about 71. So basically, the bottom line is no one, for the life of them, can figure out what Tesla EPS is going to be for this year. And there's massive disagreement over what people think is reasonable and what they think is not. And so Tesla has to show bottoming out margins, if not increasing margins with cost reductions for, I think, for the street to really catch up on what we deem as what we think Tesla's real earning power can be. But I mean, let me know in the chat. What do you guys think Tesla's forward PE should trade at? So Jupiter says jobs and payroll still at record highs. Fed's not going to stop raising. Everyone thinks there's a pause. We'll get a rug pull. So perhaps, number one, I generally have that sentiment of conclusion. But remember, the jobs and payroll report, I cannot get over this, and I cannot overstate this. The amount of change that we're seeing a month later, right? Remember, all these reports get posted and then they get revised. They get revised with actual data within a margin of error. The margin of error that we're seeing with these economic reports that are coming out, namely with jobs and specifically jobs and also payroll and unemployment, is disgusting. It's disgusting. I rambled on this last week, so I'm not going to ramble on this again. But it's really gross to see the margin of error is not a couple percent. In some reports, we're seeing a massive beat on expectations to a massive underperformance, and it makes the economic picture look better at the time of the release of the report, and then a month later, it's actually disgustingly bad. So we don't actually know what the bottom line is. But check this out as well. So this is from Gary Black. Let me read out some of this. Gary says the Fed is likely to pause its interest rate hiking campaign on Wednesday, 72% odds, assuming CPI is near expectations on Tuesday. Month over month is expected to be up 0.2%, and the core is expected to be up 40 basis points. The Fed may make it clear on Wednesday that this is a pass and not a pause with the resumption of hikes as soon as July, but I don't see it. Year-over-year CPI in June likely is 4.1%. Year-over-year CPI in July is likely 3.5%, down from 9.1% from the peak of last June. As home equivalent rents up 25%, and apartment rents with the 7.5% weighting, and a food with 13.5% weighting continue to roll over. And then he gives us some charts here that he looks at. With the target rate, remember 72% is what he's saying the odds that they pause. And these are actually, the quality of these are very bad, so I apologize, but I don't know. I have a gut feeling that they probably do increase rates a little bit, just for that little kick in the nuts. Okay. All right. Let me read some comments. Harry says, you need 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction. That isn't materializing. It's simple. Well, remember, it's not GDP contraction. It's GDP growth being negative for 2 quarters for a recession. And for what it's worth, and by the way, I can pull this up. Hold on one second. Let me pull up the Atlanta Fed GDP Now estimate. It's actually quite positive. GDP growth is looking, well, last I checked, let's see what it looks like right now, is actually looking quite positive. Hold on. Yikes, what's up with their website? GDP Now estimate. Okay. So their GDP growth estimate, their real GDP growth estimate is over 2%, right? But the blue chip consensus is at -1. This level of discrepancy that we're seeing, and this level of difference that we're seeing, I don't think I've seen it quite this wide, from this massive over 2% growth to then blue chip consensus being -1%. Someone's got to be wrong here. I guess we'll find out. Robbie says Elon is still scarred from 08. Probably. I mean, Elon went through a lot of things in 08. He's talked about it, how that's really shaped the way that he thinks and the war chest that he keeps now for Tesla and all this stuff. But is it for, is it for good? Perhaps, right? The cheapest Model 3 in Canada is $45K, I think. It's about 54, and then you get federal incentives and then provincial incentives. And yeah, I think you can get down to that level, but you're also going to pay tax. So give or take. Abe, feel free to drop it in the comments as I work my way down here. Abe says Alexandra Mers, aka Tesla Boom Mama, said on Cyberbull's podcast that Warren Buffett is looking to buying Tesla. I'm giddy. Should I calm? Well, first of all, I think I have no reason to tell anyone not to get excited about something, because this world is just so hard to get excited for sometimes. So, keep that energy. That being said, there is 0.01% chance that Warren Buffett is now buying Tesla. Not going to happen. Warren and Charlie had that video from last month. They talk about Elon, but they talk about Tesla not being their type of investment. They've said it as latest of last month. They're not doing a 180 on this. I'm sorry to say, folks. It's not going to happen. This level of I guess the thesis is, well, Yash, what is contributing to this type of volume? Well, let's take a look here. This is the daily chart for Tesla. Is Tesla volume really that elevated? Is it really that elevated? Look at the volume here from the beginning of the year compared to where we are now. Is it really that massive? Not really. We're not talking massive volume days. I remember on January 27th, right? Volume on this day was 306 million shares traded for Tesla. The average volume from Tesla today is 200 million shares traded. We're not seeing volume. Volume is not raising my eyebrows, right? It's not to the point where I'm going, I wonder what's happening here. I just think we're generally speaking seeing a market reversal from the bottom. We're seeing macro not crap the bed. And we're seeing GM and Ford partnerships really help the street to look at Tesla where the valuation is today and go, actually, you know what? Let's dabble. And then one thing leads to another. Technicals fall in line. The 200-day moving average is breached. There's not a lot of sellers up here anymore. And then Tesla stock kind of reclaims to the median. So I really don't think so. Gentry says PE should be similar to growth percentage. Well, if you follow the PEG ratio, yes. And growth percentage, not on revenue, but growth percentage based on EPS growth. That I agree with. Mark says, I'm using Tony Seba's 2010, 2014, 2017 projections still working. I'd be curious to know how many people here in the chat got into Tesla because of Tony. Not me personally, but I know from a fact that there is a substantial group of people that have. Todd, little kick in the nuts. I should clip that. Okay, let's watch. Okay, hold on. So Paul says, I also remember Shanghai's progressing towards FSD approvals. Last I saw Taker and FSD's virtually zeros in China, decent catalyst. Okay, I'm going to debunk a little bit of news here today. So this news came out. Let me just pull this up. Okay. So this news, Tesla owners Vancouver. I don't think I actually am aware of who this is, but shout out to them, Vancouver. Tweeted today saying Shanghai government is confirming Tesla FSD approval in Shanghai first. Fair enough, but people are running with this thinking that Tesla says their FSD is now approved in China. That is not the case. If you read closely here between the Chinese, it's actually from May 12th. And also, if you look down here, and I linked this here. Hold on one second. Actually, hold on. Let me just go back. Berlin Energy also tweeted this out on May 12th. This is a rehash of the news that we got on May 12th, saying Tesla gains valuable endorsement for FSD in China, right? So this is just a rehash of that, but it seems like people are running with saying FSD is now officially approved in Shanghai, in China. That is not the case. That is not the case. Yet. Maybe it happens. We shall see. Okay, let me pull up. Actually, hold on here. Let me just take this. I got a couple of videos lined up here, folks. The first one, we always have a good time with this one. This is the chart master from CNBC saying it's now time to trim your Tesla stock after his bullish take on May 31st. Okay, I'm going to catch up on the chat here in a second. But he is saying, folks, it's time to sell your Tesla stock. Let's see what he has to say.
Tesla here, the stock soaring 4% today on the back of the GM charging network deal. The EV maker locking in 11.
Let me know if the volume level is fine.
Straight days of gains, tying its longest ever winning streak. Last week, the chartmaster said that Tesla was still heading higher. It is now up more than 21% since that call. So is Carter going to say to stay long? Carter, what do you say?
I mean, gosh, who knows? But my hunch is to take some measures. It's not just because it's up 11 sessions in a row. It's up a lot. There's been price discovery, if you will. It's also news related with this sort of joint venture thing going on, or at least collaboration with Ford and GM. But also today, with the gap gapped up at the open, that means there's an unusual buying pressure. Used to be called a late open, of course. We don't have those anymore. But the stock.
This just then, if you gap up, that means there's opening pressure.
Faded and didn't close all that well. So I think it's up maybe a bit ahead of itself. My hunch is to write some calls, to trim, to take some measures. We have two charts. Let's look at them. If you'd like. The first is, perchance, we've retraced, remarkably, exactly half of the peak to trough sell-off. We know that it was $415 at the high, $100 at the low, and here we are at $244 halfway back. The second chart of two, it just try to depict the downtrend line in effect since the high. Does it have to stop on that line? Of course not. But I think you trim.
Okay, so he's talking as a trader's perspective to trim. To be fair, what I said yesterday on on the Friday car live stream, shout out to you if you were watching on there, let me know in the comments if you were, is look, if you're on margin, the last thing you want to have with your massive gains here is to have problems if Tesla falls back down 10 or 15%, let's say next week on seemingly nothing. Margin is a big problem, I find, in general investorship, and people get stuck in margin, especially on big upswings, and they go, this is great, massive gains, I don't care what happens. But the time to cut margin is almost always, but the time to cut margin, if you have any, I mean, this was a great boon for us to do that, and yeah.
All right, Carter, thank you. We will see you in just a few minutes on options action. Steve, you took extreme measures when it came to your Tesla position.
I did. So originally, when he had that chart up around $100, I bought my first leg at 105, sold it in the 190s, bought it back above 200, bought it again as it dipped below, and then he alluded to it, or he said it, 11 straight up days.
Correction, 12.
I think the future is extremely bright for Tesla going forward. I think that they have a monopoly in multiple areas within the EV networks, and I just want to see it. I want to see it like the overall market. I want to see it come back in a little bit, give me a better entry point. Took my chips off the table. We'll see.
The optimism surrounding the charging network deals with Ford and GM it's tremendous. I mean, Piper had an interesting note saying that Tesla could earn as much as $3 billion over the next 7 years from these agreements. Bonawyn. I mean, if you liked Apple services revenues, maybe this is sort of the beginning of something like that.
Exactly.
I mean, that you hit the nail on the head. Definitely speaks to recurring revenue, which you definitely like. I think really, the question is about momentum and short-term trading activity. And to the other two previous panelists' point, I just think it's a bit overstretched here. With that said, Tesla just seems to have a mind of its own. This stock could go up another 20%, 30% from this.
Exactly. That never before, folks, like what we see with Tesla, I've never seen before. Tesla is in a category of its own. It's a stock at this mega cap level, market cap, where it moves like a small cap. It is crazy the level that Tesla can move. And of course, Nvidia showed this type of move last month with what up like 30% or something like that within a couple of days. But Tesla really is in a league of its own. That's the problem with having to trade Tesla. I mean, it's a problem. It's a blessing and a curse if you're a trader. If you're a trader, of course, you love big moves, right? Especially if you like options. But if you talk about from an investing perspective, that's why it's so hard if you're trying to time it.
And I don't think any of us would be surprised. So I think I'm with Carter in that, not that I would be just shorting it here, but if I've already been in, Steve said he's in, he has about $105 cost basis. If I am in there, I'm definitely writing calls if I don't want to sell outright, but I'd probably be taking some cash and looking to deploy it elsewhere.
Yeah, you sold that 105 tranche at 190.
Yes, yes. And just to be clear, I'm out of the name right now. I want to take a look and see how it reacts next week.
Yeah, Guy, next move, higher or lower for Tesla?
You look at Carter's charts. I mean, 50% retracement 1, right up against the downtrend line 2, and we've been in this downtrend for a few years now. It's a pretty significant one. The bounce has been historic, but I mean, the trade that Steve just put on is fantastic. I mean, wait for a better entry point. I don't think this is the entry point to get long.
GM was a winner in all of this too, Courtney, by the way, and Ford when it announced its agreement with Tesla.
GM and Ford, yeah, which I think that's the kind of the bigger picture story with this is the batteries really are not as big of a high margin business for Tesla, but it's really going to help people get more into the EV space because they're.
Wait, what? Batteries aren't. Hold on, let me just go back 5 seconds.
Business, a bigger picture story with this is the batteries really are not as big of a high margin business for Tesla, but it's really going to help people get more into the EV space because you're still not seeing a majority of car ownerships go into EVs. But if it's a lot easier where people can drive for longer, it's easier to get charging stations. It's really going to benefit everyone involved. So it's kind of a beneficiary for everyone.
Okay, what's interesting with the whole Ford, I'm just going to ignore that section. I'm just confused. But what's interesting is Ford and GM, right? So now that Ford and GM have partnered up with Tesla Supercharging Network, let me give you a quick anecdote. That friend that I have that has a Mach-E that told me that they want to sell their Mach-E because the range sucks and there's no charging. I talked to him yesterday and I said, look, did you hear about this news? And he's like, yeah, I did hear about this news. Apparently it could be live in Canada by the end of this year. And every Mach-E owner Ford is giving a free adapter to, right? A free adapter to. He's pretty happy about that, generally speaking. But he says that he doesn't know. He's like, I might just I might just get rid of my lease. I might just sell my lease and just buy a Tesla. Like, he's still at the point with this Mach-E that he's like, okay, yeah, this is good, but he still doesn't want to keep his Mach-E. He's at the point now where he's like, screw it, I might as well just get a Tesla. And so I'm not sure if he will, because I think you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg to get out of it, but we'll see. Okay. By the way, you guys have been asking questions in the chat. I am starring them, and I'll come back to them towards the end of the stream. I'm just going to watch a couple more videos here. So Abe, the Tesla buying car question, best time to buy, and Gonzalo, I've starred you guys' questions. So I'll come back, and Jupiter now as well. Okay, let's take a look at the next video here. This is, of course, our friend of the show, friend of the channel, Mr. Dan Ives, Mr. Green Tidal Wave himself, on CNBC saying Tesla's having an AWS or Apple service moment. And remember, every time Green Tidal Wave is said, we drink. So let's take a listen to what Dan has to say about Tesla's. And by the way, Dan Ives has now put up a new price target for Tesla from $200 to $300 a share.
The world is covered by water and the rest is covered by you, Dan Ives. There's a lot of stocks in your
By the way, his suit choices, always on point.
universe that you cover, but Tesla's certainly right up there. What is it about the stock right now and the company that is giving you so much bullishness?
Yeah, I think what's happening, it's a sum of the parts. I'd almost call it an AWS moment, almost an Apple services moment for Tesla. Because what's starting to happen now is that the 313 area code, after years of resisting, they recognize they need Tesla. And I think when you look at the supercharger perspective, from a revenue perspective, you go out 2025, GM Ford, they get 15% share. You're looking now an incremental $3 billion, $4 billion a year of revenue that was not there. And I think what's starting to happen right now for Tesla, from batteries to supercharger to storage
to solar, and the big one that I still don't hear anyone talk about. Of course, FSD trumps all, but I don't hear anyone talk about. And let me know if I'm totally off my rocker in the comments. The Tesla App Store. The Tesla App Store, the interconnectivity of Teslas between Teslas and the entrepreneurship of apps that will come on the Tesla network once the Tesla App Store is released. You talk about service revenue. I get giddy when I think about the potential of the Tesla App Store.
some of the parts thesis is now starting, I believe, in the early stages to play out with investors. That's really what's starting to happen now with the stock, in my opinion.
There is another theory that, yeah, he got them on the network and he got them on the technology, but that design, they have 100 years of refreshing designs with high frequency, and in the end, that's going to mean better unit sales for the legacies than perhaps the Teslas. What do you think?
Again, fundamental categorical error here by Carl. At the end of the day, Elon and Tesla, for what it's worth, do not care about anything other than the overall mission to proliferate sustainable transportation. That is in and of itself the goal. I don't think Tesla is at all, of course, scared of its competitors. If anything, it's trying to bring it up to level 2 or 3 when Tesla's sitting at level 10. It's extending its hand down the stairwell and saying, here, take a couple of steps up. You need the help.
Yeah, my view is that Musk needs GM and Ford actually be successful for the broader EV vision in terms of just adoption in the United States.
Move the adoption curve higher.
And it's the jobs thesis. In other words, like from Apple, and I think that's really what's starting to play. And that's why right now you're seeing Farley and Mary ultimately partner with Musk, because I believe this is just the first step.
I don't get it though, because I'm pretty sure that Mary led.
Starting with superchargers. And ultimately, I think next step could be batteries technology. And I think that's the golden goose right now, is that they've built the castle, waiting for others to call. Farley called, Mary called. And I think it's just the start of what I view.
I got to listen to that again. Farley called, Mary called.
Farley called, Mary called. And I think it's just the start of what I view.
Trevor Milton called.
Especially with demand I view it stable in terms of, we saw coming out of our Asia checks being in Asia the last few weeks. Margins, I think now are starting to trough out the next 1 to 2 quarters. And I think that's why investors right now are really starting to look at this in a different story.
So explain to our viewers just the revenue opportunity from these charging stations. How does Tesla make money from them? What are other opportunities that it has from all these cars stopping at these stations?
Sure. So 12,000 supercharger network. And when you start to think about it, they're really the only one. That's why range anxiety, why would a Jim, a Dave, a Sarah not buy an actual technology? Why would they not buy EVs? It's because of range anxiety. So now supercharger, Tesla has it. They basically they make per charge. Now from a revenue perspective, services, we think by 2024, it's about 10 billion that we're talking about annually revenue, margins much higher than autos. So that's almost like software-like margins. Now, GM Ford, you get, let's call it 1 million cars on that network. That's incremental in the billions.
Folks, it's crazy. Tesla can charge double what it currently charges Tesla owners to Ford and GM owners to keep that level of discrepancy. Because the last thing you want to do is alienate your Tesla owners, right? You want to give them preferential treatment. Again, I know I'm talking a little bit with a silver spoon in my mouth, saying, you'll make sure that you take care of me first. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to take care of your core base first, right? But if you charge double, 2.5 times what you charge Tesla owners, it's all margin. All of it is margin. And guess what? They will use it because Electrify America is crap. It's nuts.
3-4 billion per year that was not there on an annuity. And I think that's why what you're starting, the reason I call it an AWS moment is I think for many years, AWS not really valued from an Amazon.
Right.
Now all of a sudden,
you
that
can
was
throw
a
a pretty high multiple on a recurring revenue stream like that, right?
Apple services, okay, I'll assign 100 billion. You go back years ago, today, we think it's worth 1.4 trillion. So that's why I view it.
Remember, if you guys don't know this, I'm just going to rehash this for a second. AWS, why does he keep mentioning AWS? Amazon, right? AWS, Amazon Web Services, makes up a small percentage of Amazon's total revenue, right? Like I think it's like 10, it's like less than, it's very little. I don't know the exact number. But if you look at the overall contribution of AWS, Amazon Web Services, to Amazon's bottom line, net income, the majority of the net income comes from AWS. That's why it's so powerful, because Amazon can continue to do what it wants in its e-commerce business, in its supply chain business, in Whole Foods, like whatever loss leader it wants to take up. And AWS makes up for all of that and contributes for the massive bottom line net income that Amazon has, and the majority of it because of its high margin nature. And that's what Dan Ives, that's what Wall Street is, I don't know, finally waking up to and saying, okay, well, if Elon unlocks this supercharging network for all these other manufacturers, not only are they going to sell more EVs, GM and Ford, but the more EVs they sell, the more margin out of thin air that Tesla is going to have on its bottom line.
In terms of the reason I believe Musk is playing chess and others are playing checkers, you're now starting to see it play out.
Okay, chess and checkers. That's another one that you have to drink for. Alrighty, and I'm starting your guys' questions as we go along here. Okay, so this one is interesting, right? This one is our favorite of the channel, Craig Irwin on CNBC, trying to explain why Tesla stock is rallying. Let's take a listen.
Roth Capital's Craig Irwin, $85 price target, neutral rating on the company. What's leading to this surge that we've seen lately, Craig?
So there's two things going on. The first, I would call out that, Tesla's obviously, a very successful company in EVs. EVs are inevitable. They created the market, high quality. It's a darling. People want to own it.
Yeah, no, that is not a typo. Craig Irwin's price target for Tesla is currently $85, but he remains neutral on the stock.
Any good news? They want to buy a little bit more, and it's a positive trade. It's a momentum trade. Second thing is, and I think people are misreading this, but on June 3rd, we had the announcement that they would future sales of the Model 3 rear-wheel drive vehicle, right, which is their highest volume vehicle, is going to be eligible for $7,500 in federal credits under IRA, versus $3,750, just prior to that, which was on for a space of a number of weeks. Obviously better subsidy levels are good, and there's been kind of news that Panasonic wants to increase its battery manufacturing in the U.S. In the space of these recent days. But it appears there may have been the first detention of batteries coming into the U.S. under UFLPA. And that would be a major complication. And there's also,
what does that mean?
Yeah, he said highest volume vehicle is the Model 3, which, as we know, is the Model Y.
So December 2021, UFLPA was passed. It handles the sensitive issue of forced labor in product content and certain Chinese regions. So it's the policy.
Is it just me, or does he seem nervous? I'm not even trying to hate on the guy. Like, it just seems like he's very, like, he just seems very nervous.
Policy to exclude all products made with forced labor. And CBP only did their first enforcement in June of 22 for solar, right? My colleague Phil Shen did some really impeccable work around this. This looks like we now probably have our first enforcement action for batteries. And sort of the person raised the flag, his name is Richard Mujica. He was intimately involved in the first Chinese OEM to have this issue for U.S. customers. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes. I don't know if it's good. I don't think this is. I think this is bad.
Okay, so he said there's this new law that can have enforcement action on the unethical use of labor for battery production. And then he ends it with saying, I don't think this could be good. I think this could be bad. It doesn't sound very convincing in what's happening. And seemingly the market must think it's kind of a nothing burger if the stock continues to rally in the midst of this news that he talks about. Because if the market's perfect, it should be pricing this in.
You know, Craig, listen, when you come on with us, I always respect your obstinacy, but, $85 price target still. I mean,
even he's frustrated with it.
What's got to happen for you to be right here?
I'm going to be right. I'm going to be right. So remember,
how do you know you're going to be right? What are you going to be right about? Tell me.
There's about 100 EVs that are coming to market this year. 100 new EV models.
Oh, not this, folks. The competition is coming,
and they're going to pressure Tesla significantly to the back end of the year, just like we saw last year.
Okay, 100 EVs are coming on the market this year. Does he mean that GM is actually making 100 actual EVs this year? Because that actually is probably closer to the truth.
Right. Tesla's valued at a massive premium to Toyota, sells a tiny fraction of the vehicles. They don't have anything that Toyota doesn't already have, right? So what they have is, a focus exclusively on EVs. And they have a story around robo.
Oh, God. Why are we bringing up Toyota? Toyota is the last company that you should be bringing up with EVs. We know that the family hates electrification. They're doing it. They're doing it while biting their tongue. If they could have their druthers, they would kill electrification altogether. They spend $1 billion, $1 trillion, it seems like, a year on these EV ads that are just about electrification. It's not even about EVs, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to disguise the EV movement as electrification and slip in hybrids that have 6 or 7 kilowatt battery packs, and that's all they can build, and they'll call that electrification, and they're just trying to greenwash this thing.
Taxis.
Anyways.
But that story is nothing but a story. We're not seeing any taxis anytime soon. Other people could take as aggressive positions in the technology. I, like many, just find it a little bit scary when you have these apparitions in front of you causing false braking, in the FSD system. So,
oh goodness,
it's a story stock. It's a story stock. People love.
But the story's been out there for a really long.
Oh my! Oh, they had to cut him out. They're like, no, turn this guy off. Okay, I don't know. You guys know I love to listen to bear theses. I don't like to crap on everyone that disagrees with me. That's not the point. It just seems like he's just grasping at straws there a little bit. And to be fair, towards the beginning of the year, he was way more correct than any of us bulls were on the stock price. But now that you look at the median stock price over the last couple of years, still wrong, right? For a while, Craig Irwin was able to do victory laps over his close enough price target for about a week. Fair enough. Toyota bet on hydrogen, and even that was half-assed. Yes, I mean Toyota, look, is just disgusting. Look, I love Toyota, right? Like I had a Corolla for years and years. Our family still has a Toyota Matrix. Like Toyota, like the cars are amazing. I do love what they've done, but now the future is showing them their demise. They're resisting it, and they're not able to pivot. And if anything, they're digging their heels further into the sand. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it says Toyota is building a lab in the US to find out how many EVs they're going to build. We'll be ready in 2025. Meanwhile, Tesla is producing millions of cars. Yes, this is the classic corporate. Let's huddle. Let's group think, or let's think tank over this for 2 or 3 months, and then let's come out with some actionables over the next couple quarters over it. Meanwhile, a company like Tesla is operating as a startup. So many people, you talk about boots on the ground, pivoting fast, new pilot lines. It's just impossible to compete with Tesla. It is. Marty says Toyota should just make all the Priuses all electric. Simple. Well, here's the thing. If they could have, they would have. To make electric cars, people think it's just quite simple, right? You know, you can just up the battery pack size, get rid of the engine. No, you have to massively redesign the car. You have to get rid of the entire engine, right? Like that's the crux of your engineering. You know, supplementing it with a little battery pack is fine, but to make it to have a BEV, it just takes a massive re-engineering of everything. Anyways, Craig Irwin there. Let me read out some questions here that I got. Abe says, covered call question. I have expiring one on June 16th. That's this week, I think. Share price 200. I plan to roll it to 300 June 2025. Thoughts? That's a long time though that you're rolling. And again, of course, I can't give you financial advice, but my first thought there is June 2025. Like you're essentially capping your upside for the next 2 years, which may be your thesis, but that's a long time. And maybe you're doing that because it costs you marginally more to actually roll this out versus if you did something, it'd be more expensive for you to roll it out. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to cap your upside? Because that $300 June 2025, is that really going to come down in value for you to be able to buy it back on the cheap in the next 6 months, year? Like that theta decay might take a long time, and maybe you're fine with that. Who can answer my question? When's the best time to buy a Tesla car? Should I wait until next year when the prices are expected to drop further? It's better to buy one now. Well, you have to look at your own situation on this, but Tesla, if anything, is marginally increasing prices by a couple $100 here or there. You have to also look at your rebates in the area that you live in. For us, I don't think the rebates are going to get any juicier than they are now. If anything, the rebates over time are going to dwindle down. So Gonzalez says, hey, Ash, if anyone wrote the monthly cover calls recently in the red, given the CPI FOMC rally, what do you think about rolling ahead upcoming weeks or waiting for any pullback? Not financial advice. Yeah, I think generally speaking, the FOMC is going to dictate the market this week. I don't think this week will be a very Tesla-oriented stock market week like it was last week. Maybe I'm wrong, but I agree. I think the CPI on Tuesday is going to dictate where the market goes from here. Any hint of a hot CPI, I think the market probably rolls over a little bit. But who's to say? Like I said in the beginning of this stream, I said, you know, the recipe, I mean, the ingredients are there. The recipe can either be made really well, Michelin star quality, or it can be the opposite and be a total dud of a week if CPI comes in hot. But either way, I'm expecting, I would say, a decent sized reaction to the last couple of weeks in Tesla this week. Not sure. Jupiter says, like, I'd be very surprised. Sorry to belabor the point. I'd be very surprised if Tesla was flat for this week. I don't know. I mean, let me know in the comments. Jupiter says, who will be the first to license Tesla OS or FSD tech? Well, actually, Nicholas from Investigating Screen, who I saw in the chat here a while ago, makes a great argument on his video. He says if GM and Ford are the first people to license out the supercharging network, it only makes sense that they'd be the first people to use Tesla's FSD as well. And I think that makes sense. I think as soon as you start a business relationship like that, and you do it, you obviously do it in good faith, and you're able to just paint a better picture for why the partnership was better. It's a win-win, right? As soon as you start that relationship, usually those business relationships get even more stronger over the years. Jupiter says, what's the hype with all the Highland stuff? Yes, generally speaking, I don't know. It seems like we get a lot of news out of Highland and then we get nothing out of Highland, but I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, someone might be better able to answer this question in the chat than I. Lenny says, what do you think about Elon's recent comment about FSD rate of progress accelerating? Yes. So this makes sense, right? Tesla now, they're on the single stack, highway, city driving. They've re-engineered the base of the code. So now they're able to do a little bit, to just be able to pivot faster. And it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of scenario. But Elon's saying that the progress of FSD is accelerating. That's the second derivative, as we talk about often. I think it's like, I'm very excited. And by the way, and thanks for reminding me, Lenny, I'm gonna pull up. Everyone needs to watch this video, okay? I'm gonna pull it up now. Don't go anywhere. This impossible turn on FSD. You have to watch this. I'm gonna pull it up here in a second, right after I read out this comment. Mimi says, Yash, that's awful. Elon GM customers would be treated the same. The same. The problem is that Tesla charges won't be the small amount of Tesla, Ford, and GM. That small amount of EVs that Ford and GM produce. It will be the increasing amount of Teslas. I disagree here, and this is why. I think at the end of the day, as a business owner, you have to prioritize your core customers first. If you're doing a partnership like this, the last thing you want is unintended consequences from this partnership. I mean, at the end of the day, these are called Tesla superchargers, right? Tesla superchargers. So my opinion is you have to have favorable rates. You have to have something favorable for Tesla owners, and I'm sure it's going to be this way, versus Ford and GM. Maybe not double and triple. Maybe I am being a little bit fishy. I'm being a little bit cavalier there, of course. But I think at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of beneficiary of. Tesla owners have to be a beneficiary to this as well. Not just Tesla investors, Tesla owners, Tesla car owners. So the Tesla impossible turn, hold on, let me just pull this up here. Let me know in the comments if you've watched this as well. I'm just catching up here. Hold on to the chat. Folks, the chat is popping today. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to find it the other way. Strength. And I followed him on Twitter. Let me see here. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay, so this is one, but I think another one is probably, hold on here. Let's go to media. Let me pull this up. You guys can stare at my beautiful face here while I wait. But you guys have to watch this turn, okay? You guys have to watch this turn. Let's see here. The impossible turn. Someone tag me on Twitter on this. I can't find this thing right now. So many videos on his Twitter account. Let me see here. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it later. Can't find it right now. Okay, found it. Never mind. Scratch that. Check this out. Check out this turn.
People crossing. People on bikes coming that way.
So this is in New York, and check out this left turn.
Okay, red light. Just wait out here. Those cars are kind of stopped. We gotta try to mix them.
I have to say, this is a disgusting turn. Like, at the end of the day, New York is a little bit savage to drive in, but this is a monster of a turn.
Possible left turn. Cars cross, people crossing, bicycles, another lane of people. Keep that still, lock it in. Okay.
I should probably mute this music, eh? Okay, I should probably mute it. Thank you. Yeah, I think he hits the accelerator as well, but let's see. Okay, so far, the left turners here. Okay, so he's probably hitting the accelerator a little bit. Like right now, if I'm driving, I'm going into the crosswalk fully and taking over, because if I don't, I'm never going to turn. Look at the bikers crossing. Like, check this out. Like, this kind of reminds me of driving in India. Look at that rickshaw that just went through here. Man, New York is crazy, eh? Let's see here. Check this out.
And honking people, and if I try to creep,
So look,
I can try to
it's now creeping. Check out this turn, and check out how many people are walking past it as well. Look.
I'm trying to creep.
Look at this. Oh my God.
We made it a little.
Holy crap. That is nuts.
Okay.
He probably hit the accelerator because I don't think FSD is that confident yet. But man, this is, I mean, that's kind of a crazy turn, right? Hopefully I don't get my, hopefully I don't get my, my whole stream demonetized. Hey, at least I know that won't happen on Twitter, hey? Alrighty, okay, awesome. I'll do a couple last questions here and then I have to sign off here. How much do you think, Tony says, Tesla should start budgeting towards advertising? $50 per vehicle, $100? I think Tesla should do about a $10 or $20 million ad campaign, run the case study on incremental lift, see how that goes, and then scale from there. I think $10 or $20 million, excluding creative cost, excluding video cost, makes sense here, just on placements. Labor, I don't think there's labor issues on the West Coast on the supply chain, but I'm not sure what this is referring to completely. Probably a little bit on the dark there. We'll have 100 million Teslas on the road. That's 9 years. Okay, awesome. Much love to everyone that tuned in here. I went a little bit over here, but I hope that's okay with everyone. Have an amazing, wonderful week ahead. I hope everyone has had a welcome, refreshed, cool, calm, collected weekend we can all recharge from. I have to head out here, but thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in on a Sunday live stream. And I get it. It's a little bit hard to tune in when it's family time for most. People are at church, walking the dog, out with family, doing whatever they need to do. And yet you guys are here hanging out with me on the channel. So much love for that. Much love for all of the people tagging me on stuff to react to. That always helps for the channel. I'll clip out some of this for the week ahead. I'll have my usual videos coming out in the week as well. Stay tuned for that. Hit subscribe. I think that's it. Okay, much love. I hope everyone has a great week ahead. Who knows what the stock market will bring? Up, down, flat. It'll be exciting regardless. All right, guys. Much love. Yash signing off. Take care, and I'll catch you guys on Discord. If you guys are on Patreon or YouTube membership or $5 a month or more, we'll have a good discussion in there for the week ahead. If not, I'll catch you on my next stream in the comments. And if you're watching on replay, you can go back and watch any part of this, all the video reactions, all the CNBC, the Yahoo Finance, the new news out of China with the best-selling car, FOMC talk, Fed talk, interest rates, and the stock market comparisons between Tesla and NASDAQ over the last couple of months. Much love. Take care. Thanks for all the comments. I see everyone in here. Shout out to everyone. Take care. And thank you all the mods as well. Take care. Yash signing off. Peace.